Attorney Bill Bly here, and as promised in this video, I'm going to talk to you in detail about the following concerns that you have about your OUI charges. First, am I going to lose my license, and is there anything I can do about it? Second, am I going to jail? Third, do I need an attorney, and if so, what can you do to help me? Let's deal with the first one. If you're a Maine driver, your license will be going under suspension soon. And if you're an out-of-state driver who was charged in Maine, your right to drive in this state will be going under suspension as well. A good rule of thumb is that you should get a suspension notice in the mail around 2 weeks or so after the arrest. Now, keep in mind that this is a very general guideline. If you took a breath, blood, or urine test in the case of a drug OUI, you'll have an opportunity to request a hearing with the Maine Bureau of Motor Vehicles. That will put a hold on the suspension of your license or driving privileges, and that'll allow you to continue to drive. However, if you refused to take a breath, blood, or urine test, you can request a hearing, but that will not put a hold on the suspension. Instead, for a first offense, you'll be going under suspension for 275 days on that refusal charge. Now, once you request your Bureau of Motor Vehicle hearing, you can usually figure out about a month or so after the request is made before a hearing date is set. Again, these are very general timelines, and they can change for a multitude of reasons. Now, in order to keep your license or to get it reinstated, you need to do the following. Number one, we need to request a hearing with the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. If we win the hearing, you get to keep your license, or in the case of a refusal charge, that suspension will be rescinded or deleted. Number two, we have 10 days from the date of suspension to request the hearing, or we waive it. Do not waive the hearing. Number three, it's important to get your DEEP requirements completed as early as possible. DEEP stands for the Driver Education and Evaluation Program, and completion is a requirement if you want to get your license reinstated in the event that we don't win the Bureau of Motor Vehicle hearing or you end up being convicted of the OUI. Now, this is a 20-hour course, which I will explain in more detail if you later decide you want to meet with me. Number four, it's also extremely important to complete that DEEP course we talked about in the event you want to be eligible for and apply for the IID program. That's called the Ignition Interlock Device program. The IID is a device that you blow into to ensure you're not driving with any alcohol in your system. The IID program will allow you to get reinstated much earlier than you'd be able to without it. Again, we can talk more about this later in the event you decide you want to meet with me or to retain this firm to represent you. And number five, if you didn't refuse to take a breath, blood, or urine test, you can also apply for a work-restricted license. If approved, and it's discretionary, which means it's not a right, you'd be allowed to drive to and from work and anywhere for work-related purposes. While that sounds great, there are some real drawbacks to this program that we'll need to discuss before you make a decision to apply for it. Number two, you want to know if you're going to jail. And the answer is it depends. If you have a breath or blood test of 0.15 or higher, or if you drove with a passenger under the age of 21, or you refused a breath, blood, or urine test, or you ran from the police, or you were criminally speeding, or it was a second offense or more in the last 10 years, you're facing mandatory jail. And depending on the facts of the case, you could be facing as little as 48 hours of mandatory jail and as much as 6 months of mandatory jail time. So whether or not you're facing jail is a complex question with no real easy answer, because even if there are one or more aggravating factors in your case where if you pled guilty, the judge would have no choice but to sentence you to jail, that doesn't mean it is fait accompli in your case. Every case is different. The facts in your case will be different than the facts of the next person I speak with. And that's why you're hiring this law firm, to at the very least do our very best to keep you out of jail. And in many cases, we can negotiate an outcome that takes the mandatory jail sentence out of the equation. And that's just one example of why you need an experienced OUI attorney in your case. Finally, you want to know if you really need an attorney, and if so, how do you find the right one to represent you? Well, let's address the first part of the question. Let me tell you, you absolutely need an attorney. And I think you know that, because if you thought you could handle this case by yourself, you wouldn't be watching this video right now. And please understand, The need to hire an attorney has nothing to do with your intelligence or experience. Over the years, we've represented professionals like doctors, dentists, pharmacists, nurses, accountants, and business executives. We've represented roofers, construction workers, chefs, mechanics, and professional drivers. We've even represented other lawyers and police officers who were all charged with an OUI. And every one of these people really did need our help. So now that you know you need to retain an attorney, how do you find the right one? What do you look for? Well, for starters, do your research. See what they have for reviews. Do they have any negative reviews? If so, did the attorney respond appropriately? How did his or her response strike you? How many reviews do they have, and how recent are those reviews? Did you check out their website to learn about the attorney or law firm as well as their staff? Do they have some videos that you can watch to get a sense of them as a law firm? If so, how does it make you feel? What are their credentials? Do they have training in field sobriety testing, breath testing machines, blood testing protocols? Do they have a general practice where they do a little bit of criminal, some family law mixed in with wills, trusts, and estates, and some personal injury and maybe contract law? Or is it a law firm that only practices criminal defense with a focus on OUI defense? Once you've done your research, call that office to see about setting up an in-person consultation. How does the staff treat you? Do you feel like they care? Do you feel like they think your case is important, or you're just going to be another number? Once you feel good about the staff, set up the consultation. If you can do the meeting in person, that would be best because you can learn so much more about a person during an in-person conversation. And don't expect to necessarily be meeting with an attorney or the owner of the law firm. You might meet with an attorney, or you might meet with a member of their team who will help guide you through the initial process of retaining the law firm. It's really not that important to meet with an attorney at this stage, especially if you're retaining a law firm versus a solo attorney. Now, we just barely scratched the surface of the law in this video. There's just so much more to know than we have time to explain here. And frankly, it wouldn't really be helpful to you. Because what you need to know is that you need an attorney and you have to find the best one for you. And that's a very personal decision. So if you're thinking that we might be the right law firm for you, please call us now to start that process. Thank you, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.